The president of our HOA tried to get my wife fired, get us fined out of our own house, and paint us as violent criminals. All because my wife wouldn't change her son's grade, and by the time it was over, her kid was in cuffs. She was in cuffs, and half the neighborhood had to admit they'd been cheering for the wrong side. So let me walk you through how it actually went down, and you tell me at the end if you think we went too far, or if this is what it takes to make people like that stop. My name is Mark Turner. My wife is Emily. We're regular people. I build custom furniture out of the garage. She teaches high school chemistry at Willow Creek High. We live in one of those quiet Texas subdivisions with matching mailboxes and an HOA that thinks it's a federal agency. And honestly, all we wanted was to be left alone. Sit on our porch at night. Worry about normal stuff, like if the AC sounds funny, not about legal language and surveillance, and people with guns outside our house at midnight. But here we are. This whole thing really started on a Tuesday. I was in the shop, sanding down a walnut bookshelf. Sawdust everywhere. Phone buzzes. I glance down, and it's the school calling, which usually just means Emily forgot her lunch again, or needs me to run by the hardware store for something for her lab. So I pick up like it's nothing. And instead of hearing Emily saying, "Babe, can you grab me coffee?" I get this tight, nervous voice from the assistant principal going, "There's been an incident in Mrs. Turner's room. You need to come in." And that word incident just hits your spine different. You know what I mean. Because it's the word they use when a lawyer might be listening. I get to the school heart doing that hollow drum in your throat, and they don't take me to her classroom. They take me to this little office by the nurse's station. Fluorescent lights. Plastic chairs. And there she is, my wife, calm like a stone cup of water in her hand, and finger marks on her neck, actual red marks on her throat. And I'm trying to keep my voice level when I ask what happened, and she just says it in this even tone, like she's giving a lab report. Cole followed me after class, told me I was going to change his grade. I said no. He grabbed me by the throat. I removed his hand, and I called 911. And I swear to you, I felt my vision get narrow and hot at the same time because I know. Cole. Everybody knows Cole. Senior football player, 6'2", absolutely convinced the world bends for him. And his mom is Karen Whitmore, HOA president, self-appointed queen of Willow Creek Estates, and in her head, that means untouchable, before I can even finish processing what Emily just told me. They bring in Karen and Cole, like it's their stage. Karen in this bright red blazer, like she's about to hold a press conference. Cole, sulking with this fake. I'm hurt energy. And Karen starts in loud, like she's performing for the record. There she is, the teacher who assaulted my son. He might lose his scholarship over this. We will not let this slide. And I said real quiet, "Your son put his hands on my wife's throat." And she turns that little smile on me, slow and mean, and goes, "And you're the one with the non-compliant lawn." Right, we've documented that. And that was the moment I understood something ugly, which is that this wasn't about school anymore. This was about power, and this woman thought she owned the system. Now here's where it gets insulting. The admin says they have to investigate both sides, and that in the meantime, Emily is placed on administrative leave, and they're saying it like they're being fair, like maybe my 5'5" wife with 0 write-ups in 20 years of teaching just randomly attacked a giant teenage boy for fun in a chemistry lab. Like that even makes sense, and I'm looking at the vice principal like, "Are you hearing yourself?" And he's sweating and doing that weak, "we have policies" thing. And I could feel Emily squeeze my hand under the table like, "Don't blow up. Don't make it worse. Stay calm." We will handle this. When we got home, I thought maybe it would cool off. Maybe once everyone calmed down and looked at the facts. This would get handled, and then the first envelope showed up tucked under my windshield wiper. Not mailed, not taped to the door, physically placed on my truck. Like a ticket, $50 fine for grass height, exceeding 5 inches in 3 separate areas. Which was insane, because I had literally just mowed the day before, and I was still standing there with that notice in my hand, when the next one hit that night, 70 for trash cans being visible more than 4 hours after pickup. Which basically means if the garbage truck comes at 10 in the morning, and I'm working until 3, I'm a criminal, and I look up and who's parked across the street in her SUV, sipping from a stainless travel mug, like she's on safari, just watching my house waving at me, like we're neighbors, Karen. And it didn't stop at fines. It was humiliation. It was harassment. Dressed up as procedure. Saturday afternoon, the HOA Architectural Review Committee shows up at my front door with clipboards and a tape measure. 2 retired guys with matching polos telling me they need to verify that our trim color is approved desert sandstone number 14. Standing in my yard for 20 minutes holding swatches up to my windows, like they're at some crime scene, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. Like we're already guilty of something. And then that same night, a black sedan rolls down our street. Slow too. Slow headlights off, pauses in front of our driveway like it's taking inventory, then creeps away. And I'm telling you right now, that was the moment fear showed up in my chest for real. Because fines are one thing. Somebody pacing your house at midnight is another. That's not HOA anymore. That's intimidation. Now here's the twist. And this is the part Karen did not see coming. My wife is not just a chemistry teacher. My wife spent almost 2 decades in the Army as military police to escalation evidence, handling controlled force. All of it. She just doesn't talk about it, because she doesn't lead with her resume. But when that car rolled by, something in her posture changed. She went from quiet to surgical. She sat at the kitchen table with the HOA bylaws in front of her, like it was an enemy playbook. And she said, if she wants to play by the rules, we are going to beat her with her own rules. And we started building our counterpunch. Step 1. We read every line of the HOA covenant. And I mean every miserable line. And guess what? Miss Perfect HOA president was in violation all over the place. Unapproved decorative flag on her porch. Outdoor lighting above the lumen limit. Non-compliant rose bushes that were literally banned in Section 12, Paragraph B. So before sunrise, we printed those pages, highlighted them in neon, and taped copies right on her fence with removable tape. Not vandalism, just truth in 14-point font, where every neighbor could see it, and yeah, that felt good. Step 2. We hardened the house. New cameras. Different angles, one up under the eaves, watching the street. One hidden in a birdhouse pointed right at our gate. One down low in a garden gnome. Catching whoever walked up the driveway, audio included full coverage, layered like a perimeter, and step 3. And this part was pure Emily. She dusted the latch on our front gate with ultraviolet theft tracking powder, invisible to the eye, shows up like radioactive slime under a black light. And it sticks to skin keys, steering wheels, phones. You touch that gate, you glow for days. So now we weren't just scared. We were baiting a trap. The trap sprung on a Thursday night just after 11. My phone buzzed with a motion alert from the birdhouse cam. I pulled it up and there he was. Hoodie up, trying to act slick. Cole, walking up my driveway like he owned it. He grabbed the gate latch full. Palm pulled a spray can out of his pocket. Like he was going to tag our fence, and then the floodlight. I wired kicked on, and he panicked, dropped the paint. And I thought, got you. But I was wrong, because 5 minutes later, the black sedan came back. Only this time, it didn't cruise by. It stopped right in front of our house. 2 grown men got out. Not neighbors, not teenagers, not bored dads. These were big guys. One had a baseball bat in his hand. The other had a handgun. And I'm standing in our dark living room staring at the security feed with my heartbeat in my ears. And I hear Emily calm. "Is anything? Call 911. And then she moved, not frantic, not loud, just efficient. She went to the side of the house, kept cover behind the brick, drew her carry, and waited. And outside, these guys were laughing, smashing our mailbox with the bat, popping shots into it like this was supposed to scare us into silence, like we were going to come out begging. And Emily just breathed out leveled and put 2 perfect rounds into their front tires, dropped the car on its rims so it couldn't go anywhere. And when the sirens started wailing in the distance, they jumped back in that car and tried to crawl away on metal, throwing sparks like 4th of July. And all of it was recorded crystal clear. Yeah, that happened. You think that's where it ended? You'd think. But the very next morning, Emily gets an email from the district saying she's now suspended without pay for escalating a pattern of aggression, which has now followed her home. And that part almost broke me, because that's how people like Karen win. They hit you. Then they point at you and say, "Look how violent you are." And then 2 days later, we get notice of a mandatory HOA meeting about community safety. And we knew exactly what that meant, public trial. The clubhouse was packed. Karen up front like she's hosting a press conference. Cole in a sling he definitely didn't need, began talking about how some residents have introduced chaos and violence into our peaceful streets. Talking about Emily like she's some unstable menace. And then she says real smooth that the board will be voting on emergency authority to fine or even evict households that show dangerous behavior. Basically, she was trying to pass a rule to kick us out. And then she goes, "Anyone have anything to add before we vote?" with that little smirk. And I stood up and said, "Yeah, I do," and walked to the projector with a USB drive. I introduced myself to the room first and last name, no hiding. And I said, "Before you vote on my house, you should probably see what actually happened." And then I hit play. And the first clip on that big TV was her son, grabbing my wife's throat in the lab, clear as daylight, followed by my wife calmly peeling his hand off and calling 911, and the room gasped like a movie theater, and before anyone could spin it, I rolled the next clip. Karen's little HOA guys sneaking onto my lawn at night, sprinkling something that killed a patch of grass. The same patch we got fined for not maintaining screenshot of Karen's posts, smearing my wife without using her name, her SUV sitting outside our house for hours, like she's running surveillance, and then I hit them with the good part. Freeze frame of Cole sneaking up to my gate at 11 p.m. Then the photo we took under a black light of his hand lit up bright toxic green from Emily's powder, and I said, "Real calm. That glow stays on skin and transfers to keys. Steering wheels, phones, it proves where he was and when. And you could feel the air in that room flip in real time, like the whole neighborhood realized they'd been living inside somebody else's script." The last clip I played was the sedan, the bat, the muzzle flash at my mailbox. Emily's voice calling 911 2 shots into the tires, the car trying to limp away, timestamps and audio. And when that ended, you could have heard dust fall in that room. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. And Karen finally snapped and started yelling, "Fake, it's edited. This is slander." And then from the back, this calm voice goes, "No, it's not." and Detective Ryan Miller from Willow Creek PD steps forward with his badge up and says in front of everybody, "Those recordings are in police custody. They are evidence, and at this time, Cole Whitmore, you are under arrest for assault and trespassing, and Mrs. Whitmore, you are under arrest for conspiracy harassment and filing a false report." And then they actually cuffed them right there in front of everybody who'd been nodding along with her 10 minutes earlier. And that was the first moment in this whole nightmare where I felt like we weren't prey anymore, like we got our house back. So now I'm asking you, and be honest with me, was that justice, or did we go too far? Like, are we heroes for standing up, or are we insane for staying and fighting instead of just moving? And more important, have you ever had someone like that in power over you? Someone who thinks rules only exist to hurt other people? Because I want to hear those stories. Tell me in the comments whose side you're on and what you would have done in my place, because I'm still not sure everybody's going to agree with how this ended.